The Galactic Council sat in a vast, silent chamber aboard Primorian Station, a massive structure orbiting a dying star. Light from the red sun poured in through the glass ceiling, casting long shadows across the curved table of the chamber. Representatives from 78 intelligent species stared at the figure standing at the center. Archon Varix. Tall and gray-skinned, Varix's voice echoed with calm authority. Earth has broken galactic law. They have developed faster-than-light weapons. This cannot be allowed. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some species looked uneasy. Others nodded in agreement. Varix raised a hand. We offered peace. We gave them warning. But they chose defiance. Now we must act. He turned to face the room, motioned to initiate planetary sterilization protocol. Remove Earth from the Union. Destroy all life on the surface. Silence. Then one by one hands, tendrils, and mechanical limbs were raised in approval. The motion passed. Far away on Earth, Commander Alara Miles stood on a high platform overlooking New Geneva Arcology. The city rose in clean metal towers, wrapped in blue light and buzzing drones. It was a sign of human progress and defiance. Alara was 34, sharp-eyed and calm. Her dark uniform bore no medals, only a single silver pin, the mark of Earth's Defense Council. She held a small data chip in her hand, a transmission from the Council. Her aide, Lieutenant Rafi, stood beside her. "Well?" he asked. Alara's voice was cold. "They've voted, sterilization protocol. We're out of time." Rafi's jaw clenched. "Then it's war." Alara didn't answer. She stared at the sky, where stars shone faintly through Earth's thin shield. "We hoped they'd listen," she said. "We gave them every chance. But now," she turned. "Call the Defense Council, everyone, tonight." In the underground war room, leaders of Earth's military and science divisions gathered. The room was circular, with screens showing orbital data, enemy ship movements, and Earth's defense grids. General Okoro, an old veteran with a stern face, slammed a fist on the table. "We should have struck first. We had the tech. We waited too long." Dr. Kalin, head of the Quantum Research Unit, shook his head. "If we fire those weapons, we prove them right. We become the threat." Alara stood in the center, listening. "We didn't start this," she said. "But we're not backing down. We'll protect Earth, our people, our right to exist." The room went quiet. "They're sending a fleet," she continued. "They'll take out our satellites first. Then they'll begin the protocol. We have 48 hours, maybe less." "What's the plan?" asked General Okoro. Alara inserted the data chip into the table's core. A hologram appeared. Earth's orbital defenses, secret weapon locations, hidden bunkers. "We fight smart. We don't match them in numbers. But we have speed, stealth, and surprise, and one advantage they didn't expect." She zoomed in on a hidden facility, deep beneath the Arctic Circle. "Our first fully functional FTL weapon. Ready for launch." Back on Primorian Station, Varix stood in front of a large observation window, watching his fleet prepare for launch. A junior officer approached. "Chancellor, Earth has not responded." Varix didn't turn. "They will resist. They always do." He placed both hands behind his back. "And when they do, the galaxy will see why we were right." The sun was setting over New Geneva Arcology, casting a golden light over its towering steel walls. Commander Alara Miles stood on a balcony, overlooking the city. Below, hovercars zipped through the air, and drones patrolled silently. To the citizens, everything seemed normal. But Alara knew better. Earth was now a target. Inside the command tower, the war room buzzed with activity. Officers ran between terminals. Screens displayed the growing presence of Council ships near the edge of Earth's solar system. Alara stepped into the center of the room. "Begin Phase 1. Lock down all major cities. Shield generators up. Blackout communications except for military and resistance channels." "Yes, Commander," her aide Rafi replied. The world was shifting. Later that night, Alara entered a small quiet room far below the main command center. Only a few people were allowed here. The lights were dim. Holograms flickered above the table, confidential files and old footage from Alara's time as a diplomat. She watched a recording, a younger version of herself sitting across from Archon Virex in the council chamber. She was calm, respectful. He was cold, distant. Alara Miles, Virex had said, "Your people are passionate, but passion turns to chaos. If Earth refuses to align, we will be forced to act." "We seek peace," she had replied. "We seek control," he had said. "Control keeps peace." The file ended. Alara leaned back and closed her eyes. She had believed, back then, that diplomacy could save Earth. She had trusted Virex would listen. But now she knew he never planned to. The next morning, Earth's Defense Council met in full. Alara stood at the front of the room, surrounded by generals, scientists, engineers, and diplomats. On the screen behind her, a timer counted down, estimated time until the Council fleet entered attack range, 41 hours. "We don't have time to debate," she began. "The Council is coming. We fight, or we fall." General Okoro stepped forward. "We've activated global defenses, sky shields, ground cannons, interceptors. Everything's online, but it won't hold long against a full sterilization protocol." Dr. Kalin added, "The only real advantage we have is the FTL weapon. It's untested, but it could shift the balance." Rafi pulled up a simulation. A small pulse from Earth's prototype weapon could disable an entire fleet if used correctly. "If we use it," Kalin warned, "we risk violating every treaty in galactic history. We'll be labeled terrorists." "They already voted to erase us," Alara said. "We're beyond labels now." In a secret facility under the Arctic Circle, deep underground, Earth's first FTL weapon stood ready. A sleek, black device pulsed with silent energy. A team of scientists ran final checks. Alara visited the facility that afternoon. She stood before the weapon in silence. Rafi approached. "You sure about this?" "No," she said. "But I'm sure we have no other choice." At the edge of the solar system, Council ships arrived, massive and sleek, shaped like floating blades. They blocked out the stars. One by one they took position. On Primorian Station, Archon Virex watched from a large view screen. He gave the order. "Begin Phase 1. Disable all orbital networks. Prepare sterilization protocol." That night, in New Geneva, the lights in the sky flickered. Then they went out. Satellites fell silent. Communication systems crashed. The first step of Earth's erasure had begun. People in the city looked up in confusion. Some ran, some prayed, others simply watched. In the war room, Alara stared at the darkened screen. Her voice was calm. "They've made their move." She turned to her team. "Now we make ours." Rain poured over New Geneva arcology. The city, once glowing with light, was dim now. The orbital blackout left Earth in the dark. Only backup power lit the war rooms. Outside, people stayed indoors, waiting for answers that didn't come. Inside Earth's main command center, the war table flickered weakly. Commander Alara Miles leaned over it, studying ship movements and defense grids. "They're jamming our skies," Rafi reported. "Council ships disabled most satellites. Our outer defense stations are down. We only have inner shields left." Alara nodded. "Keep the shields tight. Activate all drones. If they land troops, we hold every street." Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the room. Dr. Kalin appeared on a side screen, pale and tense. "We've been breached." Alara stiffened. "Where?" Kalin's voice was shaky. "The FTL facility. Someone leaked its location. A drone swarm disabled the outer gate. They knew exactly where to hit." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Someone on the inside." Hours later, Alara flew to the Arctic base in a stealth transport. Ice spread wide across the horizon, broken only by the black entrance of the facility. Smoke rose from the ground where Council drones had struck. Inside, she found chaos. Parts of the facility were scorched. 2 scientists were dead. The main weapon chamber was untouched, but barely. Kalin met her at the blast door. They didn't reach the core, but it was close. Someone knew the access codes. They bypassed 3 internal locks. That's not random. It's betrayal. Alara stared at the damaged wall. Someone gave the council everything. Back in New Geneva, she called an emergency meeting. The Defense Council sat in silence, tension high. We have a traitor, Alara said. Someone here fed intel to the enemy. General Okoro looked around the table. Who had access to the launch codes? Rafi checked a list. Only 12 of us. Dr. Callan added. It had to be recent, within the last 2 days. Alara scanned the room. Her voice was cold. Until we find them, no one moves alone. All messages pass through security checks. We lock this system down. But even as she gave the order, she felt it. The council was already steps ahead. Later that night, Alara sat alone in her quarters. The power flickered again. She leaned back, trying to clear her thoughts. Then she heard the click, a faint sound, behind her. She turned too late. A figure stepped from the shadows, holding a pulse blade. They moved fast. Alara barely rolled away. The blade grazed her shoulder. Pain shot through her arm. She grabbed a chair and swung it hard. The figure fell back. She pressed a button on her wrist. An alert blared. Guards stormed in seconds later, weapons drawn. The attacker tried to run, but they were hit with a stun blast and dropped. Alara stood, breathing hard, blood on her sleeve. Who are you? She asked. The helmet was pulled off. It was one of her senior analysts. Quiet, polite, trusted. I did what was necessary, he said, gasping. The council brings order. You bring ruin. Alara looked at him with steady eyes. You chose fear over freedom. He said nothing. Take him to isolation, she ordered. Interrogate him. I want every name he knows. The next day, Earth responded. Alara ordered a surprise strike on the council fleet near Mars. A stealth cruiser launched the FTL weapon. The pulse tore through space like lightning, disabling one of the council's command ships instantly. Across the galaxy, signals burst with the news. Earth had struck first and won. For the first time the council hesitated. On Primorian Station, Virax watched the footage. His face didn't change, but his voice was colder than before. They've chosen destruction. He gave the next command. Initiate sterilization protocol. On Earth, alarms echoed through the war room. Alara stared at the red alert. The real war had begun. The sky above Earth changed. It started with strange lights, faint and fast, like flashes of lightning without thunder. People across cities and outposts looked up, confused. Some thought it was just atmospheric interference. Others knew better. In the war room of New Geneva Arcology, the screens glowed red. The alert was clear. Sterilization protocol active. Target Earth. Countdown. 36 hours. Commander Alara Miles stood still, staring at the numbers ticking down. The council was done waiting. Rafi stepped closer. What exactly does the sterilization protocol do? Dr. Callan answered. He looked pale. It uses a wave of synthetic dark energy. It spreads from orbit, layer by layer. It wipes out life, organic only. Leaves the planet intact. No cities destroyed. No damage to land. Just no people left. Rafi's voice dropped. A clean erasure. Alara clenched her fists. And they've done this before. In the intelligence chamber, Earth's top hackers and analysts worked fast. A small team led by a sharp young coder named Tessa had broken into old council archives months ago. They'd been collecting classified files ever since. Now they had something big. Tessa ran into the war room with a data drive. We found something, she said. They've used the sterilization protocol on 12 planets before Earth. None of it was ever made public. Callan pulled up the files. Names, coordinates, and old star charts appeared on the screen. Every planet had one thing in common: advanced tech, developed quickly, and then silence. They were erased for the same reason Earth is being targeted, Callan said. They advanced too fast. The council wants control. Rafi stared at the screen. They're not peacekeepers. They're tyrants. Alara looked at the galaxy map. It's time the rest of the Union knew. That night, Earth broadcast a signal across the stars. Not a cry for help, a warning. Ilara stood before the camera, her uniform stained from battle, her arms still healing from the assassination attempt. Her voice was steady. This is Commander Ilara Miles, of Earth. The Galactic Council has activated a weapon that erases entire populations without a trace. We have proof it has been used 12 times before. Peace was never their goal. Control was. The screen behind her showed footage from the files. Dead worlds, empty cities, Council fleets moving in after the silence. We will not be erased, and we will not be silent. The message repeated, bouncing from planet to planet, across 3 galaxies. People listened. Some doubted, some were afraid, but others many believed. On distant colonies, protests began. Council envoys were blocked. Some worlds shut down their channels to Primorian Station completely. In the council chamber, Archon Virex watched the broadcast. Other council members whispered among themselves. We should respond, one said. Virex turned slowly. Let them talk. Earth will be gone by tomorrow. But there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes now. Back on Earth, the tension grew. The sterilization ships were in position. Drones hovered at the edge of the atmosphere. Defense grids fired constantly, taking out scouts and probes. Ilara paced in the war room. The FTL weapon was ready again, but they could only fire once more before needing a full recharge. They had to make it count. We need to stop the protocol at the source, she said. Where's the control signal coming from? Tessa brought up the readings. Signals bouncing, but we traced the origin. It's not on a council ship. It's on Earth, buried deep under the surface. Callan frowned. They hit a control terminal here. When? Ilara's voice was firm. Doesn't matter. We find it. We destroy it. That's how we survive. She looked around the room. We launched the mission at dawn. Far below the surface of Earth, beneath layers of rock and steel, a hidden chamber hummed with dark energy. In the center, a machine pulsed like a heart. The sterilization countdown continued. The sun had not yet risen. A deep silence covered the land. Snow drifted gently over the mountains near Earth's northern pole. Beneath the ice, deep underground, a hidden chamber pulsed with energy. The heart of the sterilization protocol beat steadily. Cold, tight, unstoppable, unless someone reached it in time. In New Geneva, Commander Ilara Miles stood before her strike team. 15 of Earth's best. Soldiers, hackers, engineers, all volunteers. She wore light armor now, dark gray with flexible plating. Her injured shoulder was wrapped, but she moved with purpose. This is it, she said. The control terminal is underground, in Grid 7, buried beneath an old council research site. We don't know what defenses are down there. We don't know how long it will take to shut it down. She looked at each of them. But we know the stakes. If we fail, every human life will be gone in less than 24 hours. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for our right to exist. No one spoke. They nodded once, and that was enough. The stealth transport flew low across the ice, silent and fast. Below, the old council structure appeared. A circular building, half buried, long abandoned. Snow had covered most of it, but the landing pad still responded to council codes. They were expected. As soon as the ship touched down, drones attacked, fast, metallic, clawed. Ilara and her team jumped out, weapons ready. Red beams lit the white snow. Explosions shook the ice. The fight was quick, brutal. Ilara led the charge, moving fast between cover, directing fire. Rafi took down 2 drones with a precision rifle. Kaylin and Tessa moved to the side entrance, hacking into the door. We're in, Tessa shouted. They rushed inside. Underground. The air was stale and cold. The lights flickered weakly, still running after decades. The deeper they went, the louder the hum became. The machine was near. As they moved through narrow halls, more drones attacked. Time, larger and smarter. Council Guardian units. The battle was fierce. A soldier named Lin took a hit and went down. Rafi pulled her to safety. Alara faced one of the guardians head-on. Its arm turned into a blade. She dodged, rolled and fired into its chest. Sparks flew. It collapsed. She kept going. Finally they reached the core chamber. It was massive. A wide, circular space filled with blue light. In the center stood the control terminal, a tall tower of smooth metal, pulsing with lines of energy. Around it hovered defense drones and shield emitters. Tessa ran to a control panel. "I need 2 minutes to break the code. Cover her." Alara shouted. The team spread out. Fire filled the chamber. Explosions rang off the walls. Alara took a hit to her leg but kept fighting. She limped to the terminal and covered Tessa with her rifle. "Status," she shouted. "Almost there." Suddenly a voice filled the chamber. Calm, cold. It was Archon Virix. A hologram appeared in front of the terminal. He stood tall, arms behind his back. "Alara Miles," he said. "You made it. Impressive." "You're about to lose," she said, breathing hard. "I already won," he replied. "The sterilization protocol is self-sustaining. Even if you destroy this site, another will activate. You cannot stop order. You only delay it. You call this order?" She spat. "You erased 12 worlds. You nearly erased ours." Virix didn't blink. They were unfit. "Earth is no different," Tessa shouted. "I've got it." Breach complete. The room lit up red. Alara ran forward, slammed a final command into the console, and pulled the override lever. The pulse began. The energy around the terminal surged, then collapsed. The hum died. The light faded. The machine was off. The sterilization protocol had stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. One by one, the defense drones fell to the ground, lifeless. The air seemed to breathe again. Virix's hologram flickered, then disappeared. Alara sank to her knees, exhausted. Rafi helped her up. "You did it." "No," she said, breathing hard. "We all did." Back on Primorian Station, alarms blared. Council members flooded the chamber. Virix stood still, watching the failure unfold on the screens. Earth's message had spread. Protests grew stronger. Dozens of member worlds demanded answers. "You've gone too far," one ambassador shouted. "You've lost control," said another. Virix said nothing. He simply stared as his power unraveled. On Earth, Alara and her team returned to New Geneva. They were wounded, but alive. People gathered as they stepped off the transport. For the first time in weeks, they cheered. The protocol was stopped. Humanity had survived, but the fight for freedom had only just begun. A soft breeze moved through the valleys of northern Earth. The skies were clear. The air was still. For the first time in weeks, there were no sirens, no explosions, no lights flashing warnings of war. The world was quiet and alive. In New Geneva, the war room was no longer glowing red. The screens now showed repair schedules, recovery zones, and peace meetings. The countdown timer that once ticked toward extinction had been removed. Commander Alara Miles stood by the large window overlooking the city. Her shoulder was fully bandaged, her leg healing. She wore no armor now, only a simple coat. Her eyes were tired, but calm. Rafi entered the room with a data pad. "Broadcasts are still spreading. Over 40 planets have broken off communications with the Council." "Good," Alara said. "Keep the truth moving. They'll never control the story again." He smiled. The galaxy's listening now. Across the stars the shift had begun. On the colony world of Pelion, crowds filled the streets, calling for independence. On a water world called Lycia, scientists burned the Council's rulebooks. Small worlds, once silent, now stood up and asked hard questions. Why had Earth been targeted? Why were others erased? The galaxy was waking up, and at the center of it was Earth, the planet that had survived. On Primorian Station, chaos had taken hold. Council members argued in every chamber. Protesters gathered outside the central dome. Inside, Archon Virix stood before the Grand Assembly for a closed vote. "You abused your power," one representative said. You hid the truth, said another. Virex remained calm. I did what was necessary. Earth was dangerous. But you were afraid, the councilwoman from Haller said. And fear does not lead. The vote passed. Virex was removed. Stripped of his title, he was escorted out without a word. The council remained, but it would never hold the same power again. Back on Earth, Alara walked through a quiet mountain path far from the city. She had chosen this place to rest. No meetings, no battles, no noise, just wind and sky and trees. Kalen visited her there one morning. They want to give you a seat, he said. In the new Galactic Council, a rebuilt version. Peaceful, open, Alara smiled faintly. No, you're sure, she nodded. I did what I had to. That doesn't mean I want to rule. Let someone else carry the politics. I've done enough. Kalen looked at her. You may have saved more than just Earth. Maybe, she said. But it's not about saving. It's about choosing. We chose to fight. We chose to live. A week later, Earth made its final broadcast to the galaxy. Alara stood in front of a simple backdrop. No flags, no armor. Just her voice and her words. To every world listening, Earth stands free. Not because we had the strongest weapons, but because we refused to bow. We were told we had no choice. We made one anyway. She looked directly into the lens. To those still afraid, speak. To those still silent, rise. You are not alone. The message spread. It echoed through ships, cities, colonies and quiet homes on distant moons. And the stars, once watched by silent rulers, now listened to new voices. In the quiet hills outside New Geneva, children played under a blue sky. Drones flew only for farming and aid. Old weapons were dismantled, turned into tools. New leaders were chosen, not from power, but from purpose. Alara Miles sat on a stone bench, listening to the wind. She had no titles, no command, but she had peace. For now, that was enough.